So you see, when nerves are paralyzed, there is sensory loss and motor loss. And the motor loss is sometimes very important for the function of the upper limb. And then it has to be restored. So you would restore motor loss if it is important to restore it. And you can restore by three methods: by a tendon transfer, by a bone block which prevents the abnormal movement from occurring, and by the fusion of the concerned joint, especially when there is sensory loss in that joint. It's a neuropathic joint, then it's better to fuse it. Or if there's a contracture, then the fusion can correct both the contracture and the uh, loss of active movement. So here we are primarily concerned with power loss, and if there is extensive power loss, then it is better treated by braces. If there is localized power loss, then you think of tendon transfer. The important thing about tendon transfer is that one, the donor must be powerful, have sufficient power, and it must not get paralyzed in the disease subsequently. The second is that the function of the paralyzed should be important to restore. The third is that the two muscles may preferably be either synergistic or they must act together, called synphases. The fourth is that the route that you choose must be aligned so that the function is replicated, and it should not pass through a tissue where the tendon will get adhered. And the final most important thing besides the donor and the donee muscles is that the joint should be painless, fully mobile, and stable. So after understanding these basic facts and hoping that you have covered the previous videos which describe the formation, course, supply, and clinical testing of the nerves, we will go on to for this video which can make you score very high marks. But if you have not already memorized the previous videos, then do that first to understand this video better. The musculocutaneous nerve arises as a continuation of the lateral cord, pierces and supplies the coracobrachialis, lies between biceps and brachialis, then between brachialis and brachioradialis, supplying all these muscles except brachioradialis is primarily supplied by the radial nerve. It pierces the deep fascia to become the lateral cutaneous nerve of forearm. So the major muscles paralyzed are coracobrachialis, biceps and brachialis, and this causes loss of elbow flexion, which can be restored by using the pectoralis minor transferred to biceps. You would remember that the pectoralis minor and the biceps both arise from the coracoid process, the short head of biceps and the pectoralis minor. Alternatively, the brachioradialis origin, which is on the lateral supracondylar ridge, can be transported or transposed on the anterior surface of the humerus so that it starts flexing the elbow. The median nerve arises as a continuation of the lateral and medial cord on the lateral side of the artery. It crosses it in the middle of the arm to lie medial. The artery and nerve are covered by the bicipital aponeurosis just as they cross the elbow. So they must be decompressed during fasciotomy in acute Walkman's ischemia at this site. The nerve then crosses the ulnar artery, which passes under the ulnar head of the pronator teres. The nerve passing between the humeral and the ulnar head of the pronator teres. At this point, it has to be saved while doing a flexor pronator release. Then it passes under the arch by the humero-ulnar head of the flexor digitorum superficialis and the radial head of the flexor digitorum superficialis, and it comes to lie between the two deepest muscles on the flexor surface of the forearm, that is the flexor pollicis longus on the radial side and flexor digitorum profundus on the medial side. You must remember that the nerve is separated from the artery by the ulnar head of the pronator teres, and when you are trying to release the ulnar head of the pronator teres, you have to be very, very careful not to damage the nerve or the artery, and you release it in flexor pronator release operation of the chronic VIC, which is also called as the Max Page's operation. So lying between the flexor pollicis longus and flexor digitorum profundus, 5 centimeters above the wrist, it gives the palmar carpal branch supplying the radial side of the palm, crosses the pronator quadratus, passes through the carpal tunnel between flexor carpi radialis and palmaris longus, divides in superficial branch supplying 3.5 radial digits and communicating with the superficial branch of the ulnar. The deep branch passes between the flexor and abductor pollicis brevis, pierces the opponents and ends in supplying the lumbrical 1 and 2. It supplies all the flexor and pronator muscles of the forearm except the flexor carpi ulnaris and the flexor digitorum 3 and 4. The loss of flexor digitorum profundus is demonstrated by the pointing index test. In paralysis at the carpal tunnel, thinner muscle loss is demonstrated by the Penn test, which tests the abductor pollicis brevis. The sensory supply is a very important supply lost here, and it is 3.5 digits on the radial side. In carpal tunnel syndrome, there is hyperesthesia and pain in this distribution, which has to be decompressed by incising the flexor retinacle. The major motor restoration in the median nerve is the opponens pollicis, and this opponens pollicis can be restored by using a fixed origin transfer. That means you take the flexor digitorum superficialis, wind it around the loop in the flexor carpi ulnaris and stitch it onto the abductor pollicis longus. Now this operation is called as Brand's operation. A similar operation has also been described by Riordan. Then a fixed insertion transfer in which you detach the extensor pollicis brevis from its musculotendinous insertion, and you can take the motor into this muscle from palmaris longus, flexor carpi ulnaris, extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor digiti minimi, and such a transfer in which you can use multiple motor units is called as Phelan-Miller transfer. The third is you can transfer the abductor digiti minimi to the abductor pollicis brevis. This transfer is called as the Littler's transfer. So after the median nerve, we go to the ulnar nerve. The ulnar nerve arises as continuation of the medial cord on the medial side of the artery. It pierces the medial intramuscular septum to lie in the posterior compartment in the middle of the arm, and there it lies between the medial intramuscular septum and the triceps. Then it passes through the canal of Cannon, which is bounded by the posterior surface of the medial epicondyle, the medial surface of the olecranon, and the posterior part of the ulnar collateral ligament. And here it may be decompressed in leprosy by opening up the canal of Cannon. Then it passes in the forearm between the flexor carpi ulnaris and flexor digitorum profundus 3 and 4, which it supplies. It supplies both. Then if the FDP 3-4 is involved, that means the lesion is at the canal of Cannon, then the claw hand would decrease because the FDP would not be able to flex the distal interphalangeal joint. This is called as ulnar paradox. And 5 centimeters above the wrist, it gives a palmar carpal branch. It supplies the ulnar side of the palm, the ulnar side of the palm, and the palmaris brevis muscle. Then it passes under the piscio-hamate ligament, divides into superficial and deep. The superficial supplies the medial 1.5 digit and communicates with the superficial branch of the median. The deep passes between the abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi, pierces the opponents, supplies the 3 and 4 lumbricals, all intraossei tested by the card test, and ends in the transverse head of adductor pollicis tested by the book test, the Froment sign. So lumbrical 3 and 4, lumbrical of the 3 and 4, if it is paralyzed, it causes palmar flexion at the MP joint and extension at PIP and DIP. And if you want to restore this if this is paralyzed, it will cause claw hand, and you have to restore this lumbrical. So you can use the FDS of 2nd or 3rd. This is called as Bunnell's operation. Or you can use the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis through a palmaris longus graft to substitute the lumbricals. This is called as Brand's operation. Or you can do a capsular resection of the MP joints, preventing hyperextension of the claw hand, and this capsuloplasty is called as the Zancoli's operation. Or you can produce a contracture. You can produce a contracture by taking off a part of the distal transverse palmar crease. You can produce a contracture of the skin, and this would prevent hyperextension of the MP joint, which is crucial for claw hand, and this is called as the Fritsch's operation. The adductor pollicis would be restored again by the FDS tendon, passed through the second intraosseous space and attached to the adductor pollicis. So this is the ulnar nerve. Then we go on to the radial nerve, which arises as a continuation of the posterior cord behind the artery, crosses the lateral triangular periscapular space, lies in the radial groove of the humerus, pierces the lateral intermuscular septum. Here it is susceptible for injury by an injection in Saturday night paralysis or in fracture shaft of humerus, where the disposition of the fracture is the part of the Holstein-Lewis syndrome. Then it lies between brachialis and brachioradialis. It must be saved at this point in the anterolateral approach of the lower humerus. It crosses the elbow, divides into the anterior and posterior branch. The anterior branch passes on the supinator crest, visible in the anterolateral approach to the upper radius. It winds round the radial styloid It winds round the radial styloid and supplies 3.5 fingers. The posterior branch winds round the neck of the radius between the fibers of the supinator and supplies all the muscles which are dorsiflexor. So it supplies the supinator, it supplies the wrist dorsiflexors, it supplies the MP joint dorsiflexors, and it supplies the thumb extensor abductors. So when the nerve is paralyzed, you get wrist drop, thumb drop, finger drop. Wrist drop is paired when the injury is below the elbow, that means around the neck of radius. And for wrist drop, when you pronate the forearm, the wrist would dorsiflex. So it's a synphasic transfer. You transfer the pronator teres to the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. For the thumb drop is when there is a opening phase of grasp like this. So thumb, abductor and extensor are transferred to MP joint extension, and the flexor carpi ulnaris, which is this tendon, through the palmaris longus is transferred to the MP joint extension. So palmaris longus to thumb abductor extensor, FCU to MP extension, and palmaris longus for thumb extension. So this is the radial nerve transfer. And then we go on to the other muscles. For example, the axillary nerve, which arises from the posterior cord, passes through the quadrangular periscapular space, winds round the neck of the humerus, supplying teres minor and deltoid. It is commonly involved in ERF paralysis. There is anesthesia in the regiment badge area lateral to the shoulder. To restore the deltoid, you have to transfer the trapezius to the deltoid. Then the nerve to serratus anterior arises from 5, 6, 7 roots of the brachial plexus, passes through the cervicoaxillary canal and reaches the superficial surface of the serratus anterior as the muscle is moving from the medial border of the scapula to the ribs. So the test of serratus anterior is that you ask the patient to push forward against the wall, and you would find winging of the scapula. And to prevent this, since serratus anterior and pectoris minor are inserted at the same place, so you remove the insertion of the origin of the pectoris minor from the coracoid process and insert it at the origin of the serratus anterior, that means the lower part of medial border of the scapula, and that will treat the winging of the scapula.